Maritime Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense
It is
Force.
very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
Hey, guess what today is? Well, you know today is Tuesday. Oi! And it's time for Captain Glenn. Join you ready on? So everyone let's gather around. Cause Maritime Matters. He's a native of Andros. Say what? But he grew up in Nassau. Sail around the Bahamas, all around, with the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. Hey! Well, you know today is Tuesday. Oh yeah, and it's time for Captain Glenn. Let's do any boy. So everyone let's gather around your radio. Cause Maritime Matters. Hey! Well, you know today is Tuesday. Say what? And it's time for Captain Glenn. So everyone let's gather. Cause Maritime Matters.
Everybody gather. Woo, to Maritime Matters. Maritime Matters. It's a Tuesday, my friend. It is another Tuesday. And if it's a Tuesday, you know the deal. It's Maritime. Tick, 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 tick. Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for the night, none other than the great one, the maestro himself, Mr. Kishno Jones. We're coming to you live, ladies and gentlemen, via Love 97 FM studio. This is Tuesday, the 7th day of July, 2026. And if it's a Tuesday, it's Maritime. Tick, 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 tick. Matters. We are 3 days away from the big anniversary of independence from 1973. That puts us what? 3 and 6 is 3 and 50, 53 years, 54 years, something like that. And for 55 years, people, since our country was independent, since we exercised independence so that we can vote just like any other country in the world when we go to United Nations, so that we can say we are Bahamians, and the rest is history. We encourage that if you're driving and tune in with us, please do so cautiously and ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. You know, we've been having some crazy accidents, and you know we've been having some excessive heats. I mean, heat like never before. Anybody been on that heat today? I know a lot of you are in the heat right now. Because as I was coming to the studio, I was like, how do we do it? Because my car air condition wasn't on. Times I turn my air condition on and in this kind of heat, man, I get on reach where I going. Now, so I hit that big, right? And we ain't got a bunch of traffic on the road like we used to this time of the day when school open. But what we got is heat on top of heat on top of heat. And with all that heat, some people still say, oh, this global warming thing is a hoax. Boy, I don't know where they live in. Because I could tell you, today, I had my boy with me. I had Marco with me. He does all my tiling and tile man. Let me get Marco doing so hard. We are getting some tiling operations together. And we then get the truck loaded. Tiles. And we driving back up South Beach. And what gonna happen? I catch myself diving conch. Man, it's so hot. I start diving conch. And when I dive, a big one, right? I dive. Man, it's almost so big. I get up and I say, well, motorbike. I look over at Marco, because I figure Marco had to know something was wrong, and I dive in conch while I driving. Boy, Marco was out like a letter. His head was thrown back, his mouth was open. I had to wake Marco up. I said, it's some foolishness. But that's because of how hot it is. Yeah, I know. You might say, well, you should turn on your truck AC. My truck got good AC. But guess what? Them runs be so short. Like I say, it's so hot before the AC could cool down the truck. We could be where we going. So I ain't wasting no time. And plus, you all know the trucks with gas. If you don't know, let me tell you. My truck costs $160 to come from zero to full. From, what the thing name? E straight up to F. 106. So if I put $80 in my truck, I only get an half tank. And you don't run AC on that? Well, look, yeah. I feel like when you turn on AC in my truck, my gauge is just start sinking. My gauge is say, oh, you want to live in luxury? Boy, you can pay for this. So anyway, it's really hot, people. And I don't know, those of you who, I wouldn't say wouldn't complain, because complaining ain't helping on us, right? But you know, with the BPL situation of late, with the power not on in the heat of the day, and yeah, we got windows, but guess what? Ain't no breeze was blowing yesterday like that. You had to be at a certain angle to get a little bit of breeze. So even with that little bit of breeze, at least you had roof over your head, as they say, right? You know, sometimes you need to get a little shade to get out of that direct sunlight. Because, boy, if you don't get from that sun, that sun can chew you right up. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to run on too much about this heat. But, you know, one good thing, let me say something good about the heat. One good thing we can say about the heat. The more energy you get from your solar panels. So, we could complain on one end, but any house out there that don't have no solar panel on the roof, like mine, boy, and I can get some soon, right? Any house out there where they ain't get no solar panel, don't complain. Because that's energy you're missing out on. Energy our country is missing out on. And we talking about converting from fossil fuel and bunker C to what you call it? Natural gas, LNG. What we get LNG for? When the sun burn, LNG don't give you no extra energy. LNG is fossil fuel, just like the rest of them. Only thing it burn less fossil. So we need to go from bunker C. Make sure every house in our nation, the roof of every house, have at least 3 or 4 solar panels. Excuse me, and feeding that extra heat to the grid. We talking about we having grid issues. Yeah, we having grid issues. We having grid issues because over the past couple months and few tiny years, we were upgrading the grid. Now, see, the good thing about the grid is the grid could run off any kind of fuel that provide energy. It could run off bunker C, it could run off diesel, it could run off gas. Well, not run off, because you're feeding energy to the grid from your source. Once that energy is converted to be used in the grid, then power could come to our house. And then the thing about it is when we get solar panels on our roof and we tie it and we grid tie them with the grid, we directly send an energy to the grid so everybody else could be using. Does that make sense or does that make sense? Anyway, our sponsors for the night show are One-on-One Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin, Shantytown, Heal McBride, and her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy in Nassau and Island Care Pharmacy in the second city of Freeport. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. 101pharmacy.com. That's all one word, all lowercase. So 101pharmacy.com. The 3 locations are East Street South in Nassau, Charles Sanders Highway in Nassau, and the Great Explorers Way as it runs through downtown Freeport. So, any medication issues, if you just want to buy some chocolate and some candy and things like that, go to 101 Pharmacy. Whenever you see them, stop. Don't buy some straight. Just stop and say, boy, I come to check you because I hear you all have some goodness up in here. Plus, you all have medication when I need it. Plus, I could sign up. I could go online and put my prescription in. So when I reach, all I got to do is go to the cashier and say, I come to pick up my operations. Here you go. And pick up my bag and go about my business. No, hang up. You can imagine that. That's how my little Shanty carrying on. Shanty easy, you know. Anyway, 101 Pharmacy, 2 locations in Nassau, Island Care Pharmacy, 1 location, downtown Freeport. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. And at BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. Good night, Auntie May, up there in the second city of Freeport. My good Auntie May, 93 years old, people, 93 years old, and going strong. 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 Continue to do your thing, Auntie May. You know how we roll. Well, look at my girl easy. She's 93 and she's carrying like she's 33. I know how she's doing it, but Auntie May is not easy. Just keep it going, Auntie May. You're heading for that 100. We can hit that century. We can go beyond that century. And that's how we can be carrying on, right? Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we engage discussions surrounding global warming and, of course, the demolition of a Shantytown known as Montgomery Avenue, Shantytown. That's right there off Carmichael Road, Montgomery Avenue. Go all the way to the end, to the next end. And you will find a Shantytown with numbers. And you know, a couple shows back, I think it was the end of last year, I walked to the extreme end of Montgomery Avenue to have a look myself. And I saw house after house. I forget the number, 100 and this, 100 and that. And they were all numbered. And they were all marked for demolition. And you think the people move out? No, they're still in. They got a little biggity and all that, right? They got a little biggity and all that. But the government, the PLP government that repeated in our last election is still here. So they couldn't swing nobody or nothing. And our Superman, Minister Clay Sweeting, I call him Superman because he's that powerful. He has been the most super or the most powerful minister of works in the history of our country when it comes to pulling down shantytowns. We ain't had no other minister in the history of this country where we could say, oh, he went in there and he told them they got to go, and he went back and that shantytown was demolished. No, not one. I don't care how the cat jumped. So if you think Minister Clay Sweetney is Superman, then you better think again, because that's our Superman in this country. And for years to come, we will recall that those shanty towns were all stubborn, but we got a fella named Minister Clay Sweeting. He went into the Ministry of Works and he started tumbling them over. And it's a big story, a big story about this particular demolition in the shanty town at the southern end, the southern end of Montgomery Avenue. Because the fellas that want to fight the police. They ain't trying to, and they've been warned so many times. And that's what we get when we be lousy and slack. When we allow them to do all these things, when we ready to rope them in as we should, they won't get frowsy. That's what my grandma used to say. Child don't get frowsy with me. They won't get frowsy. So, I think we did what we had to do. And I'm so proud of that what Shantytown demolition team. I can't remember the name of the task force. Some task force they got, right? That goes around rolling them out. Now they're taking a break, and I was kind of disappointed. Then the last year leading up into the election, because I ain't no Shantytown going down, boy. But it started again, and the Superman has put on his cape, and he is now carrying on. So we can look forward. Now, one thing I tell you before, Mr. Superman, I would like to see a schedule. I'd like to see a schedule of, because we know where all these Shantytowns is in Nassau. We know where the Shantytowns are in Bryland. We know the Shantytowns are in Eleuthera. We definitely know where they are in Abaco. I want to see a schedule, or I would like to see, sir, a schedule of the demolition of the Shantytowns in the Bahamas over the next 3 years. Even if we don't stick to the schedule, at least let's have a schedule we could use as a guideline. And if you want to jump from this one to that one over there instead of that one around the corner, I happy with that too, but let's have something to work with. I applaud that task force for pulling down the couple Shantytowns that were pulled down. But this don't need to be no secret as to where we go next. Let's tell them. We could tell some of them a year in advance or 2 years in advance. This when we come into you. So tidy up loose ends. And we ain't want to hear no, oh, where you gonna go? That ain't our business. That ain't our problem. We have legitimate Bahamians. Not saying ain't none of these people in these Shantytowns are Bahamians, because some of them are. We know that. But we have Bahamians who are not in any Shantytown, who are not breaking any law by building, by putting up structures that do not comply with our code or do not get inspected by our building team and whatnot, as every one of us have to do when we want to put up structures. And they ain't get nowhere to live either. So why should you get some privilege? I ran on too long. Anyway, a little hot on this one, right? Why should you get some privilege? And you breaking the law as far as putting up your structure. And when we come to break it down, because you had rights to don't do it, because you're violating our law and you have unsafe things. Some of them don't even got cesspit. Some of them ain't tie into no discharge system if they got toilet to flush. But that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is they are undocumented structures. Those structures did not go into the not even the building code, we call it, the Ministry of Work section, to apply, carry a plan, show me your electrical plan, your plumbing plan. As you go from step to step, you need inspections. We need to sign off to say you're good to go to the next day. Because we ain't want you building stuff that are dangerous around you. Because see, when your house is built in a way where it's not built according to the electrical code and the plumbing code and the building code, you could be a hazard. And if you catch a fire and we have a strong wind, even they can be strong. Because those homes are built very, very close to one another. And we know what has happened when they have a fire in those places, right? We know what has happened. So, ladies and gentlemen, another one bite the dust. And we ain't finished in that area yet. We don't get but 60-something, and we got 100 and something to get. So, the rest have been put on notice. We're on a roll now, so we will be back. So, we're going to talk about the Shantytown demolitions, and we want to talk a little bit about this record-breaking heat in our country and across the globe. They have additional thousands of Europeans died this year from extreme heat as compared to years before. The number going thousands higher because the heat is that much more severe. And we who live in the Bahamas, we live in heat all we life. And we can't deal with this heat, some of us. I tell you, I was driving conk in the middle of the day driving because the sun was so hot. I had this change shirt 3-4 times in one day because they sweat out because it's so hot. I see some of y'all work in office. Y'all working air can do, baby. Maybe going today. Me and Marco going. Marco will be going today. And he was like, motorbike. Oh yeah, we going to one. I can't call the tile company name, right? We went in there, and you know how these tile companies go. They have these big sale outside. It's have tiles pile up outside, and they say, "Oh, this big sale." Sometimes they swing it out because they tell you that on sale, and then when you look, you think you're getting a deal. Man, they go right in the back in the warehouse and pull them. They got them by the pallets. But anyway, that's their strategy. You can't knock them for that, right? So we go on inside and we tell the lady, say, darling, we like some of them tiles we see on the outside because she showed us some on the inside. They cost so much money, right? So we like some, and we just want to know what these set cost. Man, she come inside with us, and when she feel the heat, Marco look at her and he laugh. He say, now you see how good it feel in there, right? Say, boy, if you was waking out here, you probably done gone home by now. And he right. See, a lot of us take it for granted. When we in the air can do. How those people who wake outdoors, especially the moving no cover over their head, like roof or you know, instead of waking outdoors with direct sunlight getting on them. Like you go on some of these hotel beach, these waitresses and bus boys and waiters, service they call them, eh? And even some of the bartenders got a little hot over them, and when the sun goes in the same direction, they're getting steam up. And the construction sites. And some of these vendors, like jet ski vendors and hair braiders and that type of thing on these beaches trying to get a job. They're in the heat all day. That ain't no easy money they make it. So something needs to be done about all this heat. Now, we know that global warming is real. We know that our government is aware that global warming is real. Right? Because our government made a pledge a couple of years ago, I think it was 2022, at Conference of the Party, COP, I don't know what one that was, 26 or 27 or whatever one that was, right? Our Prime Minister pledged that our country, whether it be the PLP referendum, now we know it's the PLP government because the PLP repeated as government. And they're going to be the ones taking us into 2030. They said by 2030, all of our government buildings will be powered by solar. By 2030, all of our government vehicles will be electric vehicles or EVs. Boy, and you see how fast these electric vehicles are getting sold now? You see how pretty some of these EVs are? Man, you look at them and you won't hop in them. But then, you know, we still, some are still trying to hold off on our cars with engines that is the electric vehicles don't even have no what exhaust pipe name mufflers, because they don't need no muffler because they ain't got no engine, because they don't need no engine and they ain't got no transmission and they ain't got no oil in the vehicle in the machinery. They don't use no water to run through the engine to keep it cool. Because they ain't got no engine. So all these cars inside them is one big battery in the hood. One big battery. So they ain't gonna have no smoke. It could be beat down. How come this ain't happened 50 years ago? Because the world did not have that demand that we gotta move away. Do you know vehicles worldwide account for some 28%, well, it used to. The percentage must be going on now because we got plenty EVs, all them Teslas and what you call it, BYDs and I see this Cherry and look at it. Boy, they're so pretty. But anyway, we need to find ways to reverse this heating effect, this global warming effect on the world. And you know, I am convinced that it's coming. I am convinced that it's started already, based on what I'm seeing, based on what I'm hearing, based on what I'm reading, based on what my research is telling me. It ain't start coming down, but the measures are starting to be applied that will eventually bring it down. And these measures are like the electric vehicles, like the solar panels, solar inverters, solar batteries, that once you decide to go off the grid, which means you got to use more batteries, you got to use more what the thing name on your roof, solar panels, and you don't need to be a part of BPL no more. You'll have your meter right there and it wouldn't even be spinning. Because you off the grid, you don't need that. You get enough energy coming from your roof, from those, what you call the things on your roof in the daytime, and they go through the inverter and send to the battery after it convert the heat energy to useful energy, and they put it in the batteries, and when you're ready for it at night, because the sun ain't steaming no more, the battery service you until the next morning. And you can have enough to take care of your air condition. And they got air conditions with high air and stuff, right? So when you install those air conditions, they don't burn as much as the normal air condition. They get lights that burn less energy, use less energy to give you the same effect. They get water heaters. The things that burns a lot of energy in your house, you could minimize the amount of energy they use by just getting modified units that uses less energy to give you that same effect. So your house still could be dead cool 24 hours. You off the grid. You ain't paying BPL a dime, except for the little rental. Was that $30 a month or $40? I don't know what the rental amount is, right? But your meter, your main disconnect or your main switch, turn off. You don't need nothing from BPL, right? Because you are fully solarized. And it ain't cheap to do that. But once you do that, you got years and years of paying no electricity bill. So my thing is, we need to get our government, and when I say get them, I am sure the government is aware, right? To look at incentivizing those of us who don't have the money up front. You don't have the money up front to buy 12 solar panels and 6 storage batteries. Right? So you can't go off the grid. But what the government can do is incentivize us to buy solar panels or to place solar panels on our roof, and we be grid tied. So we feed in the grid. And when we feed the grid, we can have the kind of meter that registers when our panels on the roof is receiving so much energy that our house is covered, so it's feeding it into the grid. And so what the meter should do is reverse. And so you building up credits on your meter in the daytime when the sun is hot and you to wake and stuff, and you just building up credits. So when nighttime come and the meter start getting the right way, because now you're getting power from BPL, your meter trying to catch up with where it was this morning before it starts charging you anything. So for half of the night, you're basically using BPL for free. Why don't the government give us that incentive? So that all of us will want to invest at least in putting 3 to 6 solar panels on our roof. Our electricity bill will go way down, probably cut in half. The energy that the grid needs to feed the whole country or the whole island of New Providence will be getting a lot more during the daytime. And it's in the daytime when you need more energy, because why? Most offices open during the daylight. Most activities be going on outdoors during the daylight. So in the daytime, the air condition is working harder. So why can't our government utilize that avenue where we can entice people to want to have solar panels on the roof? You see, I heard that argument from some government officials that, man, for us to solarize this whole island of New Providence, do you know how much solar farms we'll need? Solar farms? You ain't gonna need none if you use on our roof. We got plenty of space on our roof, you know. What do you use? Make our roof your solar farm. Incentivize us to use our roof to give you energy in the grid so that you wouldn't be dependent on no fuel. You wouldn't be dependent on no big solar farms. Let's have a win-win situation out of this. Is that difficult for us to conceive? Well, I don't conceive it for you. Is it difficult for us to actually apply to our situation? Look at what's going on now with fuel. We say, or our government say, man, I can run on with this, I don't care much, right? Our government say that we want to go from bunker C or fuel oil generators at Clifton Pier, get rid of them and have them replaced with LNG. Well, not LNG. Liquefied natural gas comes in by ship, and that have to be converted to vapor in order for us to use it in our machinery. They have some machinery that uses natural gas, right? That is far cheaper or far less costly to operate than the fossil fuel we're using now. It's a lot cheaper. So our government is saying we can go to natural gas and cut the bills down by like 2/3 to half. You can cut the bill in half. You can save plenty of money on your fuel, on your light bill. But what our government didn't see at the time, and nobody saw it coming, that we'll have a fuel shortage in the world, even for LNG. Because I want you to know now, 20% of the world's supply of LNG also comes out of the Persian Gulf. And so when this war continues to go on, and it's taking its twists and its turns, when they say we have a ceasefire, and then they say, okay, we ain't having no ceasefire no more because this one break the agreement. So we can open the Gulf of Hormuz. No, we can close it, we can strangle all that. And right now, ships cannot really operate in and out of the Persian Gulf because the insurance ain't cover them. And they know when Iran can send one sidewinder. No, we can't say sidewinder. Let's call it a ballistic missile at them, right? Or drone. Because ain't nobody could protect them from Iran. They going into Iran's belly and back out to get into the Persian Gulf. Nobody could protect them. The U.S. government, nobody in the world could protect them when they got to go through that Strait of Hormuz. So for them to get through that Strait of Hormuz, they have to get the blessings of the country of Iran. Because if Iran don't want you going through there, they can send some bombs at you, and well, the insurance can tell you straight and plain. If you ain't get Iran blessing, insurance ain't covering you. So right now, that bottleneck, that Strait of Hormuz, is being controlled by the whims of Iran. If Iran doesn't say, you could come through, don't do it. That's what we used to say a couple of years back. My child, don't do it. Don't do it. Because if you try, bombs come on you, insurance don't tell you, we ain't covering you if you go in there. You know them boats ain't cheap, eh? Ain't gonna be cheap to fix them. So the situation is, because of that stranglehold on that bottleneck called the Strait of Hormuz, from a worldwide perspective, when we were getting 100% to satisfy the world, we now only getting 80% to satisfy the world. And so those with more money can leverage buying more than those with less money. And so things tighten up, and people who got this fuel available outside of the Gulf of Hormuz, outside of the Persian Gulf, they can now leverage their prices. Say, boy, you all need us now. You all need this fuel. We could go up. We could get rich. And that's how the price of fuel is go up and down, based on the demand and supply. Right now, supply going down, so the demand got to go up. Demand got to go up. And when demand goes up, the price goes up. So we're in a world now where even the gas, the natural gas that we say we want to now start using in the Bahamas, we ain't ready for it yet now. Because remember now, we got to build a $200 million regasification plant at Clifton Pier in order to receive this LNG from the ships, convert it, and then use it. But that plant, to install and have up and ready to go, is going to cost $200 million plus dollars. And when it was perceived that we'll have this regasification plant for LNG, and we'll have LNG machinery, and we could sell energy for far less than we sell with this fossil fuel that costs a lot higher to buy, and it's a little sloppy, and it's put more carbon in the air and all the rest of that. It was perceived back then, and with good reason, that this is the way to go. But what wasn't foreseen at that time was that the cost of LNG, like the cost of diesel, like the cost of gasoline, will skyrocket too. And because of that, my friend, our BPL bill cannot go down, it gotta go up. And every time you think they have a solution between the United States, Iran, and Israel, that this war could be done with, everybody could just stop firing weapons, and ships could now freely move in and out of the Persian Gulf again to cause that 20% of fuel to now be available, so we get 100% all over again and the price of fuel could go down. Ain't another stumbling block. And Israeli say no. What the last one was. They had an agreement last time, right? Where everybody decided, yeah, this will go. We got a ceasefire. We can do this for is it 9 weeks? I think it was either 2 months or 3 months, right? Either 2 months or 3 months. They were saying that this will come to an end, and the Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz will open back up, and things will come back to normal, so the price of fuel will eventually go back down. But the president of Israel, President Benjamin Netanyahu, decided that he ain't ready for this war over yet. He ain't like that. Because he finished doing to Lebanon what he intended to do by getting some more of their land, right? They call it buffer zone first, and then they move it and take it over. And because he had finished, he could throw some more bombs at them and let them know this ain't over. Don't think you are getting out of this, because I ain't finished what I have to do yet. And of course, that caused Iran to respond and say, well, we got to put the chokehold right back on the Strait of Hormuz, and any boat wanting to come through, you got to pay us a couple million if you want them to come through, or they ain't coming through. And we right back to square one, except I think there was no continuance of all those bombs falling on top of Iran, right? Because you know that'll be it if that start again. Iran definitely have this. And the thing about it is, if you look at this time in history and think about the details logically, right? The reality is 10 to 15 years from now, all of this fossil fuel, this 20% that is now unavailable, wouldn't mean nothing to the world, right? Because we'll have so much renewable energy with the solar and the EVs, the battery operated vehicles, and the wind farms in the northern parts of the world, more further north of the equator, where they don't have too much sun, they will have wind farms which is just as effective as solar. And so those wind farms don't use fuel either. So quite frankly, what's going to happen 10 to 15 years down the road? It may take 20, who knows? Maybe it even take 30. But inevitably, you know, I just get mixed up with some of these big words, right? But inevitably, the world will wean itself away from fossil fuel. As a matter of fact, the United Nations has declared that 2050 is the year when it will be illegal to use fossil fuel. 2050, that's only 20 years up the road. And they also declared that in 2035, which is 9 years from now, it will be illegal to make combustible engines. The ICE, internal combustible engine, you can't make them after 2035, or else you'll be fined. And then eventually, you wouldn't be able to use them. Because if you use a car with an internal combustible engine, whether it be a Mercedes or Rolls Royce or Badman wagon, the BMW, it don't matter what kind of car you get. But if that vehicle has an internal combustible engine and putting carbon in the environment, you got to pay heavily. So it'll cost you more to run your car in fines than if you just get an EV. And I want you to know, the Mercedes and them can still be there, but they have a battery. They ain't have no engine. The BMWs, well, I know if they could be making too much sense, right? Because these build your dream, these BYDs, they get a big head start on those German vehicles. You know, German vehicles, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen, they run things now, but they could be running things 10 years down the road. They have to find a way, because they known really for the technology in the engine and gearbox and not gearbox, the transmission and smoothness and the kind of speed they could give you. Man, these EVs already faster than them. Just battery. So the speed factor gone. They run more quiet because you ain't got no engine to run. So when you go to EV and that moving, you ain't gonna hear nothing. All you hear is the wind. You ain't gonna never see no smoke coming out of no exhaust because they ain't got no exhaust. So you think now a Badman wagon or Mercedes will be able to compete with a BYD or a Cherry or a Tesla 10 years from now? 'Cause if you think that, you need to wake up. Because that is not happening. Anyway, I think we can take our first break because you know I could talk and talk and talk. And we got a lot to go. We come back, we want to talk a little bit about Shantytown and Montgomery Avenue and Shantytowns to move forward. So as we move to our break, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. You are listening to Maritime Matters. Producer for the day, Mr. Kishno Jones. We will be back shortly.
At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection. At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you're listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, and tonight we are running on and on and on and on and on. The beat ain't gonna stop until the break of dawn. Now, you're listening to Maritime Matters. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly. That's every week at 17:05 or 5:05 p.m. on Tuesdays here in the studios of Love 97 FM. The primary purpose of our show is to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector from the domestic perspective, as we're doing today, and the international maritime feeds, as we're doing again today, right? The phone number to reach us, should you wish to get in on the discussion during the show, is 326-8255. That's 326-8255. Another number you can reach us on is 322-3633. 322-3633. I know some people told me they tried to reach us last week, and for some reason, the call wasn't going through. I think those numbers I gave were not very accurate, right? And I still ain't sure. But I'll double check with Kishno on the next break. But I think the numbers that you can reach us now is 326-8255 or 322-3633. To hear a replay of this show or any of our previous shows, simply hit us up at any time via our YouTube page. That's Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just go to YouTube on your electronic device and type into the search box Maritime Matters Bahamas, and you will see a litany of our shows. Just pop up, and you can pick, you can choose, you can even refuse which show you want to listen to or which show you don't want to listen to. And you will hear us blasting from the past. Now, back to our hot topics for the night. And we were talking earlier about the record-breaking heat temperatures across the world. We're talking about how people are dying like never before because it's, what the song say? Oh, it's too hot. That's Cool in the Gang, eh? Yeah, that's Cool in the Gang. too hot, baby. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's too hot. You can't run for shelter. You can't look for shade. That's what Cool and the gang say. And we find that people are dying because some people have to be out in the heat to do their due diligence. Some people work on farms. Some people work on machineries on farms. And to be on the machinery is still hot. So we got to hydrate a lot more. And we got to try and stay indoors more if we could, when we could. Right? Wait for the sun to set before you go to the top and get in the porch, go chill out. Now, remember now, the sun is good vitamin D. But too much of anything ain't good for you. You don't want too much of that good vitamin D because that sun is draining you and cause you get weak. I can tell you about that. Make you sleepy. Boy, that sun no play. You go sit in that sun, next thing you know, you're snoring. So, we said earlier that our government has, what you call it? Not promise. You promise us, but you don't promise the United Nations. We pledged. Our government has pledged that by 2030, the year 2030, and this happened in 2002 now, right? Shortly after the Davis administration came into power. You start this COP thing and they, I want you to know, our Prime Minister is serious about this global warming thing, right? And we was talking about carbon credits and how all us could be millionaires because we got this carbon sink called what the thing named across our banks. All our banks got these what you call the thing, man. Somebody call and remind me. We got mangroves, seagrass meadows. We got these seagrass. You know, we see when we go on the beach and see them little dark patches and the slimy stuff. When you put your foot on it, you feel like your foot get itch. Yeah, they seagrass meadows. Do you know that those same slimy little grass-like stuff just pull out of the environment through the water? And then when I say pull, what's the word they use? I've been talking about this thing so much now. I'm getting a little old and I can't remember all these things, right? The sequestration. They sequestrate out of the environment carbon. The same carbon that our car exhaust is thrown there. The same carbon that when them big generators, BPL, turn into to give us energy, it is shoot up in the air through them big. The same carbon that when we exhale, it goes into the environment. We remember now, we inhale oxygen and we release carbon dioxide. That carbon is now a problem for the world. And it's a problem because that same carbon, when it gets together, it loops and forms blockade from the heat escaping from the earth. And when I say blockade, first of all, because it's so much of the carbon over the years, it's heavy. It goes above the earth and it sits. When it mixes with water, because it absorbs water, it gets heavy. And when there's so much of it, remember what happens now. When you have the sun shining in the day, it lights up or heats up the earth. And when nighttime comes, and the sun goes in the next direction on the next side of the earth, the side of the earth where the sun was, but ain't there no more, start to release the heat. Because heat rises. So it starts to release that heat into the atmosphere from the earth. Because you know the ground is getting hot. Man, let me tell you something. I planted some banana trees the other day. It was dead hot. I planted these banana trees and they started to do well because I was watering every day. But now there's like all of them dying out. Because the earth, the ground is be so hot. If you're barefoot and you're walking outside in the dirt right now, you got to be so careful you get burned. Let me tell you what I do with my food today. See, I might be digressing a little bit. I can let you all know something. Some of my Sunday food, right? You know, Sunday food we used to be carrying on. Sunday's the day when it's cooking and we Bahamians. We used to cook every day, but not no more. Only on Sunday, right? So, I take some of my food to the office and put it in the fridge. Still in the plate, still in the foil. And so I say, you know what? I could take this out the fridge today and heat this up and eat this. I ain't buying no food. The only thing I guess is sloppy Whopper from around the corner. You get your chicken sandwich. You got your, because you got all the fast food. And I ain't calling their name, but they're all over the place around my office, right? And I try and avoid that. I trying to watch my figure and throw off a little 2 pounds, right? Well, they had like me, I'm watching figure, right? And so I decided, man, I can bring my food from home, and when lunchtime come, I can heat that up. And you may not believe it. Well, some of you all know. This is a fact, right? I took my food out of the fridge in the office, and I walk out front to my car, and I put the rest of that plate of food on my dashboard. And do you know that within 1.5 hours, the plate was hot. The food was hot. I didn't have to put the food in the microwave. Well, I had grouper. The fish, the mixed veg, the macaroni, the peas and rice. Yeah, you all know what I eat. That's Sunday now. I don't eat that every day. Everything in that plate was ready for me to eat as though it'd been in the microwave for 2-3 minutes. And I ain't making this up. This ain't the first time I did it. That's how hot it was in my car. Especially on the dashboard. You don't believe me? You try put some food on the dashboard tomorrow when the sun up. And see how quick you wouldn't be able to touch that without getting burned. And you will not be able to touch that food. Well, I mean, if it's good food now, good food like what I see. Some people get this dumpy food and they mightn't be able to take heat. Let me stop. Guess no laughing at me. Guess no, you're not nice. So, so that's the kind of heat we're dealing with today, people. Hot heat. And if the heat could do that to my food, could you imagine what is happening to us while we out there? We be baking in the sun and then realize it. Well, I mean, we get a little nice tan, right? But that sun just be sucking energy up. Well, let me don't put it that way, because that ain't true, right? Sun ain't gonna suck no energy out of you. But the sun could dehydrate you and make you feel weak, because it's taking water out of you. So that's why they say keep hydrating. And I got, boy, look here, I got a contractor there. I ain't call the name. My contractor, he like them green bottles, right? Y'all know what's coming in green bottles. Anakin. I believe Anakin. So usually when I go get drinks, because everybody got to be hydrated, because we work in the construction work, right? I got the tile, I got Marco there, I got Jensen there. I ain't calling no name. I got the tiler, the carpenter, the mason, the plumber, the electrician, and the painter, and all of them there. You get drinks. I don't know who just drink Gatorade. I don't know who just drink Corona. I don't know who drink Heineken. I don't know who only want water, which ain't none of them want no water. So I go and bring my little box. You go to Chinese and they get these little box. In a box full of stuff, and I lose rest of it, because everybody, nobody get one out of one things, because they like their own things, right? But it's important to hydrate when you're working in this heat. Even if you get a little roof and you in and out and stuff like that, you got to hydrate. Because that sun, the suck, the liquid, and the some of it through vapor out of you and make you sweat. And you're sweating out some of that stuff. Not only toxins when you sweat out I'm liquid too. You need to rehydrate. You need to, and coconut water is the best thing. Oh my goodness. Anyway, again, time is rolling and I digressing, right? So we talk about this how hot it is around the world. And because of that heat, the earth gets very hot. And because we have all this machinery putting all this carbon in there, and these carbons absorb heat and absorb also water. And when it absorbs heat, it gets heavy, so it sits there. And so when the other parts of the night, when the heat is trying to escape, it's trapped. So it's trapped between all this layer of carbon and the earth itself. And then the next day the sun comes and hits the earth and warm it up all over again. And then as that heat rises, that is trapped. So that add to the other heat from the day before what was trapped. And that continues, that's like, it continues on, hotter. And that's why we get it. And they say the glaciers up in the north and south poles are melting faster than ever. They say the oceans are rising faster than ever. And you know why the ocean's rising? Because the water from the ice melting in the poles is going to come into the ocean, and the ocean will get more water and cause ocean level to raise. And when the ocean level raises, what happens? The coastline closes in on us, and eventually, if you don't put a stop to it, these flat lands of the Bahamas will become consumed by water. And you think yourself plenty flood when it rain heavy or when you have a hurricane and things like that? No, man. This water be coming from the sea and the lakes into your home. And there's nothing you'll be able to do about it. Again, let's get back to this global warming situation, right? Because we got the carbon being consumed by our seagrass meadows 35 times faster than those big trees in the Amazon forest. You know, trees just inhale carbon dioxide and they let out oxygen so we could breathe. And then we take that oxygen, we let out carbon dioxide so the trees could breathe. So we have a cycle going on with the oxygen and carbon dioxide between us and the trees, right? I don't know if you all realize that. That's why you have two kingdoms. You have the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. The plant kingdom, everything under the plant kingdom inhales carbon dioxide and excretes oxygen. Everything in the animal kingdom, us, inhales oxygen and excrete or lets out carbon dioxide. And that's how we live in harmony. And that's why they say trees are so good to be around us. A lot of people don't know how important trees are, right? But these seagrass meadows in the sea, on our banks, and we got plenty. Bahamas have the largest seagrass meadows in the world. They sequestrate out of the environment 35 times faster. They're taking carbon out there than them little trees we see around our yard and even them big trees we see in the Amazon forest. So that's how valuable and how important they are. And those of you who could recall, a couple of years back, I think it's probably 3 years ago, right? It was revealed by this university. I think University of Arkansas, one of them, right? I might be wrong with the state. But one of the universities out of the U.S. came to the Bahamas and did a study on our carbon sequestration. In other words, how much carbon our seagrass meadows is actually taking out of the environment for the rest of the world. Because if our seagrass meadows wasn't taking that out of the environment at that fast pace, it would have been even more hot than it is today. And so they determined that based on what will be paid for carbon credits, by the United Nations, when they compensating somebody by giving them credits for taking carbon out there, the Bahamas, if they are paid for all these seagrass meadows sequestrating carbon out there on an ongoing basis, should be paid up to $156 billion with a B dollars a year. And then the study is there. This ain't no secret. Many of us know this. So I got very excited back then. I said, boy, what? Even we got all this carbon being sequestrated, and we could be getting 156 billion. What the government can do with that? We need to give each Bahamian one couple $100,000 a year, or whatever the case may be. And we hear that before, right? But but my thing was, if our country is going to be getting or worth getting $156 billion a year, and right now we only probably get, but from our revenues, what, $6 billion or so a year? What are we going to do with all this money? And then reality kick in. What is the reality? See, a lot of us need to follow this research. But the reality is that, yes, if we were to be paid for the amount of carbon we are sequestrating out of the environment, our country should get well over $156 billion every year from the United Nations. But the United Nations decided we are not paying any country for taking carbon out of the environment unless it's a mitigation measure. In other words, you are putting something in place to take out some of the carbon out of the environment that is not already happening. See, because our seagrass meadows was there eons of years. They were always there. We didn't put them there. And guess what? After 2050, where we have no more internal combustible engine excreting or putting carbon into the environment, and we done wean the world away from putting carbon in there, you think our seagrass meadows could stop sequestrating carbon out of the environment? No. That can happen forever and ever, amen? We can't stop it. You're not gonna. That's a natural occurrence. So as far as the United Nations is concerned, look, before we start talking about this carbon credits, centuries ago, this carbon was being sequestrated by seagrass meadows around the world, by mangroves around the world. They don't even pay you if you got mangroves taking carbon, because mangroves also take out carbon credits. And what the thing was, salt marshes up in upstate, they have small salt marshes that does the same thing. They're taking out the 35 times more carbon out of the air than the big trees. So, reality check, we're not mitigating anything. So we have $0 to make of carbon credit because of our seagrass meadows, because of our mangroves on the western side of Andros. We don't have salt marshes. So that balloon was brisk. It's like, boy, that was a balloon for me. I don't start counting my money, right? But the reality is, we ain't got no money to get from nobody, because that was happening from time, that will be happening from time to come, and it's just a natural occurrence that none of us could do nothing about. So what we can do, as our government pledged, is to solarize all government buildings. And like I was saying earlier, we can incentivize all residents to use their own roof for solar panels, and the government would then allow them to grid tie, and when they're feeding energy to the energy grid, their meter will reverse, and that will mean they're getting credit. And in the nighttime, when the sun is shining, they're making no energy, they could be using from BPL, and they would see the balance between how much you stored or how much you put back to the grid during the daytime when you was making energy, and how much you use overnight, and the balance is all you will pay. So in some cases, you may be in a situation where BPL actually paying you back. They're paying you because you had so much energy fed to the grid that you put more on the grid than you use. And somebody else will be using it, so they like it wasting. That's the reality of how we do things here. 326-8255, 322-3633. Anybody who wants to call in and add to what I'm saying or challenge what I'm saying, please feel free. I'm well researched on this. I'll be happy to take a call on it, a couple calls on it. Those of you who work within the BPL system, those of you who provide solar to homes, some of y'all know more about this stuff than I do. Feel free to call in and let the public know either I talking sense or I talking foolhardy. Because I think it's important for people to understand how all this is supposed to come together. And then we have a popularity surge with electric vehicles. And unless you're living in a box somewhere, you can't tell me you don't see these pretty EVs on the road. You can't tell me you see one car in front of you with no muffler. You can't tell me this easy motors on that's easy car sales or something like that on the highway with all of them pretty cars there. And on the next side of the next highway, you got opposite AF Hadley, that's EV motors, that one. With all those pretty cars, and boy, they put some big showcase right next to the highway. You can't miss it. And let me tell you something. Right now, my understanding is some of those vehicles cost less than $30,000. Well, last you could have buy a car for less than $30,000. So these EVs, brand new, are going to be costing less than ICE, the internal combustible engine vehicles. And the sad thing about this too, the sad thing about this is you get some of these regular cars, right? Like the Geely or whatever that name, Cheetah or something like that, right? And they run so smooth, you'll think they're EVs. And they're burning plenty gas, like some of these other vehicles. So technology has brought us to the state where the engines are so efficient today compared to yesterday that you're almost tempted to say, "Man, we need to stop using engine, man, these things too good." But unfortunately, they're still putting fossil fuel in the environment. They're still adding to the global warming situation. And they look nice and all that, but the EVs are just as good. The EVs are more quiet. The EVs, you ain't need to go to no, they ain't got no gas station 20 years down the road. Would you have gas station for if you no car running on gas? Everybody charging up the car to their house at least once a week, twice a week, depending how much runs you want to make. And one might argue, okay, so if they got plug-in to charge their car, and they're using BPL, which is using fossil fuel, yeah, that's true. But if BPL resort to solar only, because they're using all our roof as their solar farms, then they will be getting energy from solar to charge their battery in their car, which should be cheaper. So everybody wins. And it coming to this whether we wanted to or not. So, I know you all hearing me and I ain't look like nobody want to ride me tonight. Ain't nobody want to tell me what's going on. Ain't nobody want to give me a call to say hi. Oh, we got a call coming in. Is that a call? Call you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yes, good evening to you, Captain Glenn Bain, Bernice Johnson,
Lady
the
Bernice.
First, let me give thanks to Almighty God through Jesus of Nazareth. And happy birthday going out to Queen Camilla, wife of King Charles III.
Who she is?
How are you and your family, sir?
Who's Queen Camilla? Oh, you mean Prince Charles, King Charles' wife?
Yes, they still the titular head of our parliament, and until that is officially not declared, I think it's due.
Well, I never hear her tell me happy birthday, so I don't know if I need to be checking.
No. That is courtesy. I love doing it because I have all the history.
Yeah,
The Bahamas from
you keep that up.
1221 to present.
You do that for you one
when they
day.
are blaming the British monarchy for some horror stuff, it is not actually the British monarch. It was the colonialistic that's separate and apart from them. And that is why I always use it intentionally.
So do you think, Ms. Camilla?
You reference to BPL.
Yes, darling. Go ahead.
Not to challenge you, and I told you to vote PLP the last time we spoke.
Well, I didn't vote PLP.
Well, you might have taken my advice, so that is very good.
When I go in the booth, I might vote for everybody.
Okay, so I saw you would crease up with the COI, and I know nothing was happening.
COI? No, I like COI. I like all the parties, man. I swing.
Okay.
I what you call a swing voter. So I vote my conscience, and sometimes I go in the booth and change my mind, Veronique. So you can't label me.
Yeah, but no, I was FNM until the FNM lost all form of empathy towards all humanity in the Bahamas.
Yeah, but
and I switched with my new PLP leader, Philip Edward Brave Davis King Council, and his team. I have Bain and Grantstown here in Bain and Grantstown. Now, BPL, Minister Joe Best Colby is not to blame for what happened, and that was anticipated because, as I told you, I had transitioned and I was posted in the House of Assembly during 2008 to roughly around, I would say, 2019, before the election of the administration. And I had placed in the Minister of Energy, BEC, BPL, Power Secure. It was some transition anyhow. Mr. Thomas Desmond Bannister was the minister then, and I gave a copy to the Prime Minister and the then National Security Minister Marvin Dames, and also Ava Turnquist, I think I gave a copy to.
Right.
And it's reference to certain concerns of the U.S. federal government correspondence reference to certain activities. I'm quoting it, you know that.
Yeah. I'm with you. Go ahead.
Yes.
I'm with you.
As that has been anticipated with the wear and tear of the infrastructure of the BPL grid and other rented generation machinery. And they did not heed to call a meeting because I hand-delivered to the U.S. Embassy, as they instructed me, also to BPL headquarters. The then chairperson was Miss Donald Osborne. And by them not calling a meeting, it caused a major conflict, and it still needs to be resolved, you see. So I'm not going to challenge you because I know you are brainiac. You and Mr. Bain and all those. So I only call to share that because I am pending my retirement package, you see, because we were doing esoteric duties. People thought I was not with the police force. However, we transitioned to conduct certain investigations in various ministries. That would be social services, BPL, Bank of Bahamas, and the social services is for.
Yeah, but you know, Ms. Veronique, I don't personally feel like Minister Kobe Davis should be blamed for anything. Because if he had a force majeure situation, see, people need to understand when you talk about force majeure, that means that's an act of God. That's something you ain't responsible for, but you can't do nothing about, right?
That's right.
And that's like an accident, right? In those type situations, You can't really blame. That's like if a hurricane come and destroy our country or destroy a certain island. You can't blame nobody for that.
But they want her to apologize, and I do not believe.
Apologize for what though? I mean, the reality is, if you have a force majeure situation, and you have problems spilling over from that, right?
But
now what?
The take is right. Let me interject. No politician ought to apologize.
No, I wouldn't say that. Hold on now. I ain't getting along with you on that.
They have advisors, Mr. Bain.
Yeah, but sometimes if the advisors are wrong, they need to take the blame and apologize, but not in a force majeure situation. That's my point.
No, let the advisors who advise the prime ministers, who advise the members of parliament, they must stand their ground because they are being paid as consultants, and responsibility of presenting unconditional, unapologetic, brutal honesty is a must for the citizenry.
Yeah, but we didn't put them there. The people who we put there is the cabinet ministers. Well, we even didn't put them there, but we put the MPs there, and the MPs become cabinet ministers. And when a cabinet minister make a promise or make a statement that it will get better, and we voting based on that, and it gets worse, well, of course, now maybe you need to apologize. Well, things didn't work out the way I thought, blah, 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 blah.
They failed the people, and yet they still want to cause controversy to try and destabilize and cause
ain't no day who failed the people.
And they are wrong.
All I'm saying is this situation with this electricity being striking certain this I think it was a substation at Blue Hills area that impacted because it caused a fire and that's a big disruption, right? And that happened because of lightning. I'm not sure somebody could be blamed for that. You see, but the reality is the war going on in the Persian Gulf or between Iran and the U.S. and Israel, that war has caused a choke point on the fuel available worldwide.
But I spoke to
and that caused the price to go up. And so if we were promised that our price going down, but the cost to buy fuel has gone up, nobody can do with that. That the Bahamas had nothing to do with that.
I spoke to that last time, and I told you who is responsible for that conflict in the Strait of
Hormuz. Yeah.
Right? I spoke to that.
Yeah, you did. And let me
insurgents and create unnecessary conflicts between the U.S. because they were going to settle and come to a peace agreement.
Now, Miss Veronique, me and you have to get mad because you always wait till my show over the call. I already 3 minutes over, right?
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Anyhow,
I only wish you would call me 10 minutes ago, man. Why you do me like this?
This only gives me time. So if I am consulting after my retirement, I have earned it because of my investigations. For all of those out there who believe I don't know anything or I don't know
they only jealous.
God bless you. And tell Auntie May, good night.
Yes, thank you very much, darling. Thanks for calling, and you take care of yourself as always. Ladies and gentlemen, we're fresh out of time. That was a very good call. I only wish Miss Veronique had called about 15-20 minutes ago so we could really go into some depths of. But yeah, I mean, we having issues in this country. All countries have an issue with energy right now. Bills are going up all over the world. Now, one of the things we didn't mention, is that one of the senators was putting forth that the government should take some of the VAT of the fuel, the electricity bill, just like how they're taking VAT off the cost for bringing in children, books and stuff when it's time to go back to school. So take some VAT of that bill, and I think they could also take some of that percentage tax of the fuel coming in, since it's getting higher. Government making more money and it's more hard on us, eh? Anyway, we ain't got time to talk about all that. We are fresh out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. I thank my producer, Mr. Kishno Jones, Mr. Ox Extraordinaire himself. I would like to say good night again to my good old Annie May, of course, and my sponsors, Bahamas Maritime Connection, 101 Pharmacy, Island Care Pharmacy. Keep things ticking. And as always, Maritime Matters. Tick, 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 tick.
Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide